Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new, hello. This video is gonna be a little bit different. I feel like I haven't done a little chit chat, kind of like girl talk, marriage video in a very long time, so I wanted to just sit down and do this video today. If you guys don't know me and my story, I got married in August at 22, and while I've done a lot of podcast episodes, I have a podcast, it's called But What's Next, on like getting married young and expectations versus realities, things that I've learned. I really haven't done a lot of talking about it here on my YouTube channel, and so I wanted to just put together a little video of thoughts that I've had after being married for the prime time of almost 4 months. Obviously, I don't know everything. I know you learn so much your first year of marriage, and obviously the more that you're married, the more that you learn, but I almost wanted this to be more of like a little diary video of things I've learned, things that I can look back on and just remember this time of my life, because being a newlywed and getting married, it's all so exciting, but it can be a blur when you don't kind of look back and reflect on it and share kind of advice and tips and things you've learned. And so I just wanted to put this video out there. If you're thinking about getting married young, if you're getting engaged, whatever it may be, I thought that this just might be like a little nice girl chat to have. I do just want to preface, if you don't know me as well, I'm also a Christian, and we waited until we were married to live together, and we dated for 4 years. So I met Aiden when I was 18, we got married at 22, but we never lived together beforehand. And so obviously a lot of the things that I've learned have come from living with a boy. And so that kind of frames my mindset. I know a lot of people live with their boyfriend or girlfriend before they get married. And so this may seem like, oh, these are just things you've learned from living with someone, but it's definitely something that's so new for me and for him. And so that's where a lot of these things kind of come from. So the first thing that I noticed or learned whenever we got married was just viewing us as a team. I can't really explain this in any other way than it really does feel like a spiritual thing. When you get married, you do feel so connected with this person. And I was talking about this in a vlog that I did, but just as an example, Aiden had a really awesome work win the other day where he got, you know, some really great feedback, hit a milestone in his job. And I can't explain how anytime your spouse succeeds in something, or even whenever they're hurting in something, how much you feel that. And I really do think that's because, you know, as you're married, you're one team. You have goals together, you have dreams together. And I always remember whenever I was watching Sadie Robertson's wedding video, she has this line where she says, you know, if it's a win for you and a win from God, it's a win for me. And it's so cool whenever you see the person that you're married to succeed in something. It really does feel like a win for you. I answered a question on my Instagram too about this, and I'll put it here. I feel like I explained it a little bit better, but I really have changed my thinking. And obviously, even when you're married, you're still an individual, and there are still things that are good for you individually, but I definitely have a mindset shift where it's not just thinking about me. It's, okay, is this good for us? Is the way that I'm acting good for us? Is the way that I'm spending my money good for us? Is the way that I'm viewing my career good for us? You just view things a lot differently. And I think it's really special when you learn how to just view you and your spouse as a team more often. I think it's funny because whenever I was single, you kind of believe that whenever you're independent, that's when you have the most freedom. But I can't really explain this fully, but it's just so cool being married now, how free I feel in the security that I have with my husband. And, you know, for both thinking in terms of us being a team, I just feel really secure in the decisions that we make together. And obviously there's more accountability when you have someone else there. And I just feel a lot more freedom, even though I'm not necessarily single anymore. I read this book before Aiden and I got married. He read it too. It's called You and Me Forever. It's by the Chans. They're a couple, but there's this line in it that I think kind of goes off this, but it says, you can be more effective together than apart. In a truly healthy relationship, we enable each other to accomplish more than we could have done alone. And I just feel so much more motivated in my personal work, my personal habits, knowing that I'm working as a team, and just knowing that we have long-term goals and things that we're working for. And I can't explain how much individually I work harder, even though I have someone else in my life now. The second thing is it does come with a financial responsibility. I know one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people are kind of guarded to getting married like younger is because of the finances, because it is definitely a big deal when you are no longer just worried about your own financial well-being, but you also have someone else. For us, we combine all of our finances, and I know everyone's different. Some people have separate accounts. We see how we spend money, And it can definitely be a vulnerable thing when the person that you're married to sees all the purchases that you make and you're learning to budget with someone else. I think I had always heard how big of a deal finances are in a marriage, but it really is a big deal. And you start to see this other person's medical bills. If you marry someone who has debt, like, you see all that stuff. This is why we talked a lot about money before we got married. We really wanted to know how we both viewed money, how we viewed credit cards, how we viewed long-term goals, all these things. And I think money is a topic that people don't necessarily talk about enough. And I can just say that money is a big part of marriage, and it can also be really rewarding. Like I said, I feel more motivated to work towards our long-term goals of like buying a house and investing money and trying to be kind of wise stewards of our money now that I'm married and it's not just me dealing with my money. But also, in a way, I don't feel really insecure about money now that someone else is there and, you know, we're working together on like how to be good stewards of our finances. I just feel a lot more security knowing that it's us together and he's doing the same with his money. And life is expensive and it takes a lot of money. So I definitely think talking about finances before getting married is important. Another big thing is how much you still have to be intentional with your relationship. So we waited to live together until we got married. And so I think there's this concept that you think you're always going to be hanging out with this person when you live together. But I can't explain how much just like sitting on a couch watching something or scrolling on our phones isn't quality time. And if that is one of your love languages, it's so important to have that quality time in a special way. And so something that we do, we've been going through this marriage journal. It's this journal, I'll have it linked down below if you're getting married. I'd highly recommend this. The founders of it are also just really sweet. They're a really great couple, but essentially you go through it and it has like a weekly devotional. So this one's affirm, there's one on serve, there's one on forgiveness, there's one on dreaming. And then there's also just like a weekly calendar you can kind of set out to make sure you guys are on the same page, because even when you're living together, you might not still be spending quality time together. So something that we both do, because we both work from home, we're here all the time together. We still go on a Thursday night date night and we'll just go out and do something fun, something kind of out of the norm. You don't even have to spend that much money, but this was something that a lot of older, more wiser married couples kind of encouraged us, or I just seen a lot of married couples talk about this, was to always have that date night, to always prioritize that, and to kind of start that when you're a newlywed. So when you have kids one day, you have more demanding jobs, you have pets, whatever it may be, you still prioritize your relationship as the center, so all those other things just work out a little bit more smoothly. The next one is I don't actually get a lot of judgment for getting married young. So even when I was living in New York City, I lived there for 4 years, that's where Aiden and I dated. I still feel like whenever we got engaged, some people kind of thought it was a little bit odd, but it wasn't judgment. No one was like, wow, that's really stupid that you're getting married at 22. Like, don't you want to live your life more? And I think even just meeting strangers, and we're meeting a lot of our neighbors right now and our friends, no one really thinks it's odd. Maybe that's because now we're in Texas and it's definitely more common here. But I think people pretty much mind their own business and people don't really judge that much. I just had heard that a lot of people who did get married young would get kind of like looks. That's just something that I don't really experience. And even online, I don't think that I get that much judgment. Some people might think it's different or unique, especially if my viewers live in a different area, it can be more abnormal. But at the end of the day, people are usually quite polite and respectful about it, which I really appreciate. And obviously getting married younger is not for everyone. I totally understand that people are working on certain goals or they want to do things in their individual life before they get married. And I totally think that that's fine and that's definitely normal. And I think it's good because it is a lot of responsibility getting married and you really do lean on the other person. We moved to Texas whenever we had dated in New York City. My husband Aiden's from the Northeast. So it was a lot different for him and it was definitely a big commitment moving down here, but we knew it was good for our marriage. We knew the affordability down here is really nice. We knew he also got a really awesome job here in Texas, so all the pieces kind of moved together. But when you move to somewhere new with the other person, you kind of only have that other person at the start. So I think it is a big deal and something to talk about, but at the same time, I definitely think that getting married young can be a really, really good thing. My next one is not to sweat the small stuff, but do talk about the small stuff. I'd always heard people say, you know, you shouldn't get caught up on little things. You got to choose your battles. You got to pick your battles. And while I agree with that, I definitely think that this is my mindset. I've always been like this. If something small bothers you for 10 minutes a day that this other person does, that 10 minutes a day adds up to so much time over the course of your life. And so if it is something that every single day is like picking at you, you should tell that other person. And that's obviously not getting like upset and causing an argument every time like a little thing comes up. But if it is something that is constantly bothering you, you should say something. And that's what someone told us when we were doing premarital counseling. They called it like the sock on the floor, where like if your wife leaves her sock on the floor every day and it bothers the husband because he feels like that's inconsiderate of him, but then she feels like she's not being appreciated because she's busy and it's just a sock on the floor. Like, you can see how you have different mindsets towards things. And so even the small things, it's important to discuss them and clear the air a little bit on them. It's also important to be fulfilled individually to have the best marriage possible. I can say from experience, when I feel fulfilled in myself through my own devotions that I'm doing with God, with my workouts, with my career, I definitely feel like I bring more to the table in our marriage, and I'm more supportive of my husband or your wife, whoever it may be, instead of relying on that person for ultimate happiness. And it can be really easy to idolize marriage and think that it's gonna fix all of your individual problems, but if you don't fill yourself up every day, I can just say from experience and my bad days that it comes out on the marriage. We are both very independent people, so we like having alone time. Like today I'm here alone in the apartment. It's nice to get things done. It's nice to focus on what I need to do. But then we get to rekeen in the evening. Is that even a word? Rekeen? Reunite in the evening, and I feel more dedicated to our marriage when I feel filled up as a person and myself. This one is just kind of a fun one, but I can't say how special mornings and nights are. This was one of the things I was most excited about because we waited to live together. It was so special getting to wake up next to this person and go to sleep every night with this person, that they're the first person you start your day with and the last person that you end your day with. I can't say how special it is. Mornings and nights are now my favorite times of the day because it just feels really sweet to have that kind of marker of the day with the person that you really love. This one isn't as intense as I'd like it to be, but how special it is getting to experience new things with your husband or wife. We didn't really travel together alone until we were married, and so it was so special getting to see new places. We haven't been a lot of places because there's the pandemic right now, but we went to Canyon, Texas, and we did some hikes there, and we did like a tiny cabin nearby in Dallas. And it was so sweet just getting to experience a new place with someone new. It almost just makes it so much more exciting, and especially because Aiden isn't used to Texas, he just moved here. I feel like I'm getting to experience Texas for the first time through him, and it just makes me really, really happy. So this one is more of a personal thing and probably my only negative on this list, but it's just that I feel a lot more pressure to hit a new milestone. I think whenever you've waited to get married, it's one of those things that you really hype up and it's really great, but once you hit that milestone, there's so much kind of internal pressure to hit a new milestone, whether that be like a career thing, whether that be buying a house, whether that be getting a dog, whether that be getting a cat, whether that be having kids. I know as soon as you get married, people start asking you about kids, and there's just a lot of pressure to kind of do the next thing. And this has been something that's been on my heart lately, especially with doing like YouTube and Instagram and social media. People get really invested when there's a specific life change that happens, but the minute that things are kind of like stagnant, like you're just living life as a newlywed, kind of feel like, okay, I need to be achieving something else. And so I've really been trying to, and this is something I try to get across in my videos, to slow down, enjoy life, enjoy all of the work that we put up until this point, and continue to work on our marriage and just enjoy the life that we've made for ourselves without always feeling like we need to achieve something else. And I've talked to a lot of other people who got married too, and this is so true. So many people feel this pressure, but you really have to check your heart every day to not always feel like you need to be moving on to the next milestone. And the last one is just kind of a sweet one, but I don't think I'll ever get used to hearing Aiden call me his wife or me getting to call Aiden my husband whenever like I'm on the phone, I'm like, oh yeah, my husband, it just still sounds weird, but it's really sweet. It makes me feel half like old, but it makes it feel so much more special. I don't really know how to explain it, but I've also talked to a lot of people and they always say that this is true too, just like feeling a little bit weird whenever you like first start calling them husband or wife or whatever, but definitely a good weird. So those are some of the things I've learned so far, things that I would like other people to know if they're getting married. Let me know down below if you're in a long-term relationship or if you got married, you're getting married. Let me know what you're excited about. Let me know some things that you thought were special if you got married, just any kind of personal experience. I'd love to hear. I plugged this in the beginning, but if you do like this video, please listen to my podcast because I talk so much more about relationships and I just dive more specifically into things that I don't talk about as much on my YouTube channel. It's kind of like my favorite platform that I have so far. So if that's something you're interested in, I'll have it linked down below. I post episodes every single Monday morning at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time. So I love you guys. I'm so thankful for you guys and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Bye friends.